Same day, same outfit for me, but just starting a new chapter in the book. In the last chapter, we were introduced to Toya and who she was and what brought her to foster care. In this chapter, we're going to meet the other significant people, some of the significant people in her world, her new foster home, a world she didn't pick, a home she didn't choose, that someone decided this is where you're going to live from now on. And she's just going to try to make the best of it, which is what we talked about in the prologue. I brought with me a new friend to sit and listen to my story. This is Huggy Bear. He's one of my favorites. I love teddy bears, and this one brings me a lot of comfort. So he's going to sit right here. I'm going to read on top of his head. And if you have something special that you like to cuddle up with, feel free to tell me about it in the comment section. I'd like to hear about that. But we're going to get started. So this is chapter 1. A chocolate brown Cabbage Patch doll I got 5 Christmases ago, and a picture taken at a family reunion 6 years ago were pretty much all the mementos I carried with me from my pre-foster care life. I put the doll on top of the bed on the fluffy purple comforter and gently set the picture on my nightstand. Standing there for a moment, I thought, so this is my new room. It was a nice room. I had my own TV, a laptop on the desk, African art on the walls, and a closet big enough to hold the entire junior miss department at Macy's. I only had one suitcase. My last foster mother gave most of my clothes away to her own granddaughter. I paid good money for that stuff, I heard the woman say the night before I left. I'm not going to let that little tramp lead with my money on her back. As if the state hadn't given her the money, most of which she kept for herself and bought me clothes from the thrift store instead. But whatever. That's all over with now. My new foster mom said she would be taking me shopping, and the word hand-me-down was definitely not in this woman's vocabulary. Turned out she wasn't a wicked foster mom after all. Her name was Angeline Hughes. Miss Angie was what she told me to call her. She looked like Mary J. Blige's long-lost sister, all vogued out in her Marc Jacob jeans and flirty pair of gold slingback sandals, which I'm sure I've seen Beyonce sport in last month's Essence magazine. Her honey blonde hair made her caramel skin glow beneath flawless makeup. She had a big booming voice that always let you know who was in charge. Miss Angie owned a hair salon called Sassy's in the basement of her plush 3-story home. It wasn't some rundown doobie shop either. Sassy's was classy. Miss Angie had clients, not customers. The place always smelled like vanilla soy candles, not perm and burnt hair. She served her clients wine and cheese, and the room was filled with the classics: Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, Tina Marie, and my personal favorite, Patti LaBelle. Miss Angie also had a daughter, Chelsea, who was 13 going on 33. The first time she saw me, her face was all sloppy with tears of joy. "Welcome home, big sis," she cheered. Then wrapped her scrawny string bean arms around me like with all the force of a Mack truck, causing me to stagger. Chelsea was actually the reason I was in this house. One day, Chelsea started making noise about wanting to have a little brother or sister. Miss Angie knew she wasn't about to go back to changing diapers and feeding babies at 3 a.m, but she recognized that her daughter really needed some companionship. Sometime before, Miss Angie had toyed with the idea of becoming a foster parent. Her mother had done it off and on for years. Now it seemed like the perfect time. Business was going well and they had plenty of room. Miss Angie was anxious to share her 38 years of wisdom to help some poor girl from making the same mistakes that she had once did in her life. Unlike her mother, Chelsea was far from glamorous. She was a pretty girl, but her interests were apparently not in shoes and makeup, but science and math. And judging by the frazzled ponytail that sat crookedly on the top of her head, she rarely paid a visit to her mother's salon. Miss Angie permitted this outrage only while Chelsea was in the house. As soon as she stepped out the door, her hair had better be presentable, or Miss Angie threatened to shave her bald. You wear your hair right, or you wear no hair at all, she would tease. When Miss Angie first saw my hair, all she could do was shake her head. Oh, girl, she said, while playing in the long frizzy braids that should have been taken out weeks ago. I can't have you walking around with this ball of yarn in your head. I got a reputation to protect. Now, staring at the braids in my hair, in my new mirror, in my brand new bedroom, I started to wonder, when the hell am I going to wake up from this dream? Sometimes it felt like a dream, other times a nightmare, but never a reality. One day I went to bed a normal girl living with my mother in Philly. I was barely 5 feet tall, big plaits and barrettes in my hair. The next thing I knew, I'm 5'7" with hips and breasts and long stringy braids, living in a stranger's house a million miles away from my mom. All because of Mr. Rick and his own nasty self. Toya! The sound of Miss Angie's voice cut through the silence and snapped me out of my trance. I followed the sound of that voice to her bedroom. The woman was propped up on the bed, a silk scarf tied around her head. She had her glasses on and was flipping through a packet of papers. Her slender framed DKNY glasses made her look smart and sophisticated, though in her pajamas. Even her glasses are cool, I thought. You called me? I said, leaning in the doorway. Miss Angie read one more sentence and looked up over the rim of her glasses. Yes, I was reading your case history. The case history? A single piece of paper typed up by some social worker that was supposed to sum up my entire life. My history. I started to read it once. I couldn't get past the first line. Latoya Sharice Young is a bright, energetic girl who loves reading, music, and going to school. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Latoya Sharice Young is a very pissed off girl who wants y'all to stay out of her damn business. After reading the first line, I threw the case history in the trash. If the first line was a lie, I can only imagine what the rest of it said. But now that Miss Angie was reading it, I couldn't help but wonder what had been typed on that piece of paper about me. I had done my fair share of dirt these past couple of years. I wondered if they put that internet incident on there. But Miss Angie didn't mention it. She went right for the meat. It says here that you were molested by your mom's boyfriend, she said, then looked up at me for a response. She got none. So she continued, matter-of-factly. Are you promiscuous? I repeated the word slowly as if trying to translate it. Promiscuous, Miss Angie repeated. Are you sexually active? Yeah, I replied, stunned that she'd even asked. The other foster moms just assumed I was and took me down to the clinic to put me on the pill. But the pill makes me nauseous. I got condoms, though, I added. Miss Angie cackled. Girl, this ain't Planned Parenthood. I just want to know what I'm dealing with here. Now, you say you're sexually active. You got a boyfriend? No? Good. Look, I know you're 16, and I'm not opposed to you having a boyfriend once you get settled in and I see you bringing home some good grades. But this is a celibate household, young lady. You know what that means? Miss Angie raised up her glasses as if that would help her see me better, to examine my eyes. It means no sex. Exactly. The Bible says it's a sin, so if I can't get none, you can't get none either. You understand? Yes. All right then. Good night. Miss Angie slipped on her glasses and started reading again. I had been dismissed. Then Miss Angie added, "Oh, and bring me those condoms, please." In the bottom drawer underneath my blue sweatpants and a couple of pairs of jeans was a brown paper bag filled with about 10 condoms, all in different styles and colors and flavors. I grabbed the bag and started to take it to Miss Angie when I caught myself. What are you thinking? That was the last of my stash. I never knew when I might get the urge. I took a handful of condoms out of my bag and tucked them in a sock. That woman must have been crazy. What are you doing? The voice startled me. I looked back to find Chelsea in the door with a big grin on her face. While Chelsea may have been the reason I was there, she was also as annoying as hell. I knew that for a fact, even though I just met her. Always buzzing around me like a tiny little gnat that needed to be swatted. Don't you knock, I snapped, quickly shoving the bag of condoms back into the drawer. The door was already open. Chelsea sashayed in and flopped on my bed. I just stared at her. Well, I would appreciate it if you knocked first. I need my privacy. Excuse me, mildly offended. Chelsea sucked her teeth and added, well, Mommy says there ain't no privacy in her house, so you better get used to it. And Chelsea! The voice scared both of us. Chelsea nearly fell off the bed. We looked back to find Miss Angie standing there with her hand on her hip. I thought I told you to go to bed. Chelsea whined. I was. I just wanted to get Toya her present. Present? I had been so outdone by the fact that this little girl would just barged into my room and plopped her little hips on my bed that I haven't even noticed that she had a little pink gift bag in her hand. Welcome to the family, Chelsea smiled at me, wearing clear plastic braces with tiny flecks of pink. Standing next to her mother, their appearance was as different as night and day. Miss Angie looked like a model in her Japanese silk robe and French manicured toes. Chelsea looked like a member of the Geek Squad, skinny legs pointed out of an oversized t-shirt, wearing sweat socks on her feet. But if you look deeper, you can see Miss Angie's beauty just beneath the surface, ready to bloom someday on Chelsea's face. I dipped my fingers into the gift bag and pulled out a tiny angel nightlight. Sometimes I get scared when I sleep in a new place, and this helps me, Chelsea explained. I thought you might like one too. Thanks. I stared at the plastic angel in my hands. Maybe Chelsea wasn't a little gnat after all. Maybe she was one of those little annoying ladybugs instead. But then Chelsea added, trust me, it's not that deep. I got it from the dollar store. She laughed and her hands immediately flew and covered her mouth, still a little self-conscious about the braces. Miss Angie pinched her arm. Ow, Mommy, I was only joking. Go to bed. Okay, good night. Chelsea threw her arms around her mother and stole a quick hug from me before I could react, then disappeared, with the sound of her footsteps thudding down the hall like she had lead in her feet. For such a skinny girl, she sounded like a herd of elephants. Miss Angie listened to the sound of her daughter's muffled footsteps, into the room, then turned her attention back to me. Don't mind Chelsea. She's just excited you're here. She painted this room all by herself, you know. Yeah? Yes. And Lord knows getting that girl to do any work around this house is a miracle in and of itself. Miss Angie let out a hoot of a laugh and sighed. Holding out her hand, she asked, so, you have something for me? It took a minute for me to figure out what she meant. Oh! I quickly returned to the bottom drawer and dug out the bag of condoms. I was about to hand the bag to my foster mother when something strange happened. I felt a twinge of guilt tugging at my conscience. For some reason, I didn't want to get off on the wrong foot with this lady. I wanted to be on her good side, though I didn't know why. I reached into the sock drawer and pulled out the other secret stash of condoms, put them in the bag, and gave the whole thing to Miss Angie. I'm glad you did that, Toya, because you know I would have found them anyway, eventually. Yeah, something tells me you would have. Miss Angie shot me a look as if to say, you better believe it. Seamlessly, the hardness of Miss Angie's raised eyebrows melted into a kind expression. She waited for me to climb into bed and tuck me in like I was 3 years old. I have expected her to read me a bedtime story. Instead, Miss Angie asked, so is the room okay? There was an anxiousness in her voice, like that of a brand new foster mother waiting to please her first chargee. Yeah, it's nice. I never had my own TV before. Well, feel free to enjoy it when you're off punishment. I winced. I had forgotten all about that one. You really going to put me on punishment on my first day here? Is there really no way in hell you're going to church tomorrow? I let out a deep sigh and rolled over in my bed. I guess I don't have a choice now, do I? Miss Angie bursted into a classic wicked foster mom laugh. Ah, you catch on quick, my dear, and flicked off the light. So that's the end of chapter 1. And we already get to see Toya now entering into her new world, her new life, a world she didn't have any say in. Someone decided this is what you're going to do, and she just has to do it. She has to make the best of it. And originally you could see that from the start, she was going to be the old Toya. She was going to keep that stash all to herself. But there was a little voice inside of her that said, no, let's do something different this time. Let's try to make this work. And that's what she did. And that's what we're all doing. We're just doing the best we can. We're trying to get along. We're trying to make things work in this new normal that we're living in. Hopefully ours is a temporary normal. But feel free to share comments, and we're going to see what happens as Toya is trying to adjust to her new normal. So stay tuned for chapter 2.